Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Today we are discussing chapter 2 verse 14. Matra sparshastu kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkhadah agamapayino nitya stam titikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O son of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So it's a very important verse for practical application. A few words of significance in the translation. First is non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress. Second is they arise from sense perception. And third is one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So the first aspect of non-permanence. So we should understand all our happiness and distress, that material happiness and distress that we experience in this in one's life are a result of prarabdha karma. So based on when, at what time they have to fructify, both happiness and distress will come of their own accord. So as scheduled. Um, just like we don't do anything to get distress, we don't have to do anything to get happiness as well. Both of them will come as per schedule. And these happiness and distress both are non-permanent. Sometimes we feel when we are in some trouble, we feel like this is going on forever. But we don't feel the same when we have happiness. We are happy to enjoy our happiness for as much time as possible. But distress, we can't. We want to get rid of it the earliest. But Krishna here is saying that you have to tolerate both happiness and distress, not just tolerating distress alone. Why is that? Why is that one should tolerate happiness as well? Because if one cannot tolerate happiness, one cannot tolerate distress. So if we are jumping up and down when happily because we got something good in our life, then similarly when we get something unpleasant, then we fall down very quickly. So there has to be tolerance, because we should understand, okay, all this is a result of past karma, when maybe I was in knowledge, I was not in knowledge, and I've done certain things, and I have to just experience it. There is no escaping from this happiness and distress. And it is non-permanent, even though it might look like it's been around for a long time, but it will last only this lifetime maximum, right? Of course, next lifetime we will have new set of karma phala if we don't perfect our life and go back to Krishna. But everything is only as much as permanent as that particular janma or life that we've got. So in the overall scheme of things, it is non-permanent, because we are on our eternal journey as soul, coming down from the spiritual world and going back to the spiritual world. And in that whole long time horizon, these happiness and distress in one life is like a blip. So it is non-permanent. Second is, this whole thing about sense perception. We should understand this. Sense perception is happening because there are senses and we can perceive, which means that they are happening through the body. A body is called Vyadhi Mandira. Vyadhi Mandira means that it is actually a temple of disease, a temple of problems. Bhagavatam says that we are irrationally attached to dead matter. Body is dead matter, but we are irrationally attached to it. So this is all because of sense perception. The body is the vehicle. However, we should also think, why is it that some people suffer more and some people suffer less? In the sense, similar kind of problem, one feels more distress while other might feel less distress, right? Or other way of looking at it is same situation before Krishna consciousness and after Krishna consciousness, we might suffer less. What is the reason? The reason is our this irrational attachment to dead matter. So the more one is attached to the body, the more he suffers. Prabhupada gives the example of a car. If one is too attached to the car and something happens to a car, a dent or something, then that person who's too attached almost feels like it has happened to himself, right? And he is just lamenting over it, and every now and then bringing up that conversation, how did this happen? I really don't know, and they're just stuck in that consciousness. But one who is not too attached to uh, the car might just look at it very objectively and say, okay, I need to get this fixed, and then he goes on with life. He doesn't get stuck in that experience. So we suffer more or less because of our attachment to our body and material things. So what Krishna is saying is that since it's non-permanent and it is arising from sense perception, tolerate. Now, in the overall scheme of things here, in the sequence of verses, we should understand previous verse, um, Krishna has spoken about spirit soul, that we are all eternal individual persons. We are spirits. But of course, when we are in this material world, we possess a material body. So Krishna is telling, while you are a soul, uh, since you have a material body, you have to tolerate. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with that material body? By tolerating things that happen. So that is the only way we can deal with this material body and material situation. So this tolerance becomes such an important, critical aspect of our existence in this material world, and more so for those who are aspiring to become Vaishnavas. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi saishnuna manina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, we hear saying that we have to wear this mantra around the neck at all times. So which means that we have to tolerate these pains. What are these pains? These pains could be because of body, because of mind, because of nature, adhyatmika, adi daivika, adi bhautik. Now any kind of pain, we have to tolerate. Some people suffer more of one type than others. So some people might have more body pain, some people might have more mental pains, etc., etc. So we have to tolerate, because it will anyway come and go. We should understand that it will come and go. And anyway, it is not happening to us. We are the soul. It's not happening to us. It's happening to the body, right? And what kind of tolerance? What kind of tolerance? Generally, we actually modern times, people are extremely intolerant. Simple things like being at a traffic light and goes green, and then people are honking behind, right? They don't have patience to wait for even 5 seconds. Everything is fast. People require quick solutions. So there is fast food. You want to eat everything like quickly and run. So people are very intolerant because busy. They are generally very intolerant. Even when it comes to, some bodily pain, for example, if there's a headache or something simple, people immediately they can't tolerate. They want to just take a crocin or pop something into the mouth and get relief from the headache immediately. So this is all intolerance. In some sense, you might think that being in India should actually help build more tolerance, because in other countries maybe things are so systematic, etc., etc., but in India nothing is systematic. So from a spiritual perspective, it is good that it can help us build tolerance. Now, what kind of tolerance? Like this verse is saying, Thrunadapi, like a straw, more tolerant than a straw on the street. How much do anybody care about stamping over a straw that has fallen in the street, right? Or is the straw jumping up and down that somebody stamped me? At the same time, a tree uh, gives shade, fruits, etc., etc. It's always helping others. And now there might be somebody who's come to cut the tree, and he cuts the tree and then sleeps under the same tree, and the tree doesn't refuse its shade, nor when if it's not getting enough water, or excess heat, it's tolerant. It just tolerates everything, right? And this example is given because we have to become like that, and of course, more importantly, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadari, amanina manadena. It's very easy when somebody gives us respect, we give them respect, but somebody doesn't give us respect. That's when we have to give them respect and tolerate that situation. Anger is a result of intolerance. And definition of anger is when there are situations which are perturbing. One should not become angry, so one has to tolerate. Then we have in Upadeshamrita, we have to tolerate the urges. So it is all about tolerance, tolerance, tolerance. Tolerance also helps us realize that we are not this body, because when we are experiencing once on one Nirjala Ekadashi, body became so weak that we couldn't do anything practically, but we could still go on chanting, and then realizing that, okay, so this clearly showing that I'm not this body. So when we tolerate, and hence following austerities, etc., is very important, because that helps build tolerance. Tolerate the pains of the body and the mind. Once Prabhupada was on a plane, and it was a non-smoking zone, and people were smoking, and so the devotee was traveling with Srila Prabhupada, called the air hostess and told her, saying that this is non-smoking, but these people are smoking, and it's becoming inconvenient. And then the air hostess tells those people, but those people were drunk, and they didn't give too much heed to the request. So again, after some time, the devotee, got up to talk to the air hostess, and then Prabhupada said, "What happened? Why?" And then the devotee says, "No, Srila Prabhupada, it's non-smoking, and they're smoking." Prabhupada said one thing: don't act like an ordinary person. Tolerate things. So when we are in this material world as devotees, we should not expect that, oh, okay, I'm a devotee, and these things should happen as I expect. No, they won't. They may not. So we should tolerate everything. Tolerate anything that is not as we require, because that is how we become dearer to Krishna. Because when we become tolerant, immediately we can think about chanting his holy name, engaging in his thoughts. But otherwise, we are just stuck in that. We, instead of becoming Krishna conscious, we become situation conscious or problem conscious. Of course, we should not tolerate aggression, offense against Krishna and all or his devotees, but in dealing with general material situations. Also, Prabhupada in the purport talks about there's one statement which says one has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. And this is the way Varnashrama Dharma used to help people build tolerance, because whether you like it or not, you need to follow the rules and regulations. Right? So automatically you become tolerant to your misbehaving mind, your intolerant body, and people were trained in this previously. Unfortunately, we never got trained on these things when we were growing up. And also Prabhupada says that following prescribed rules and regulations helps one rise to the platform of knowledge, because by knowledge and devotion one can liberate himself. So why one can raise to the platform of knowledge? Because only when we become tolerant, we will have patience to sit and think, okay, why is this problem coming? Why is it coming only to me? So we can come to the platform of seeking answers to these questions, or and so we'll come to the platform of knowledge. And when we come to the platform of knowledge, the essence of all knowledge is that we have to serve Krishna, because we are servants of Krishna. So then it will also lead us to devotion. So that is why this tolerance is so very, very critical. Also in the last paragraph, Prabhupada talks about the great responsibility that Arjuna had. So we should also understand human life is one of responsibility. We cannot live like cats and dogs. So responsibility means realizing who we are, why we are here, where are we supposed to go, what are we supposed to do. And in this consciousness, we should constantly engage in the service of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.